Hey, everybody. Welcome to this Thursday 9 a.m. call. As always, I'm your host here for the Former Athlete Society, and this is our Thursday Q&A call. Like always, every Thursday, 9 a.m., I jump on here and answer questions from our community. So whether or not you're joining us live or you're jumping in and asking questions in the discussion board, or maybe you're direct messaging me through the Former Athlete Society in our school community questions, it is my job now to answer those for you. So whether or not you have a scheduling conflict that doesn't allow you to attend our 9 a.m.s, no matter what, you can still get your questions in. That's the beauty of doing this asynchronously. I video every single one of these. So if in the event that you can't join, you can still get your questions answered by me. So without further ado, because I want to be conscientious of time, I will answer the questions here that were in my inbox. So, hey, Coach, I'm a former college athlete. Sorry, I'm just trying to decipher this. I'm a little bit older now. How can I improve my recovery as an older athlete? Okay, so there's several things you can do. Number one, recovery is it's crucial, right? It's everything. So especially as we age, I think that there's three things we can really focus on. Sleep, number one. You can aim for at least 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep. You can use tools. I always recommend this to our current athletes, but you can use tools like blackout curtains are a real popular one. So I have a blackout curtain. I use it every single night. You can also use like a white noise machine. That's super important. So I tend to not use a white noise machine. I like white noise. I favor white noise, but it comes from a fan. But sometimes as I'm traveling from hotels, I use a white noise machine as well. I actually use I'm blanking on the name. I use an eye mask through Manta Sleep, which is what the eye mask that I tend to recommend for most of our athletes. I use that when I'm traveling as well. Just that's super beneficial as far as blocking out ambient light that might be coming from alarm clocks or weird devices in hotels, things like that. I often recommend some type of magnesium supplement that tends to, like magnesium tends to help a little bit with some sleep. So that's our first pillar, right? If you're not sleeping well, you're not recovering well. So number one, trying to prioritize sleep hygiene, getting that right. Second, I'm a huge, huge fan of prioritizing protein intake. I think that's super important for us. I talk about 1 gram per pound of body weight. I try to incorporate a bunch of anti-inflammatory foods. So things like berries, vegetables, leafy greens, a plethora of different sort of omega-3s that tends to help with reducing the likelihood of delayed onset muscle soreness. So getting your nutrition in check will oftentimes help improve your recovery as an older athlete. I like to say that, you can run from a lot of these things. You can out train or you can out recover, poor sleep. You can out recover poor nutrition. You can out recover the next thing I'm going to talk about here shortly when you're young, but they tend to magnify as you get older. So making sure that you get your nutrition in check, and super huge with the anti-inflammatory foods. It's also really important to understand what are the pro-inflammatory foods and working on making sure that you avoid those types of things. So foods that are rich in omega-6s, things that tend to irritate your gut lining, things like that can actually really be a detriment of your nutrition and then ergo a detriment of your recovery for an older athlete. Last thing I tend to recommend is some type of light mobility or active recovery work on a daily basis. I think that's a minimal staple, daily 10 to 15 minutes. I talked about this already on one of the Q&A calls. For every decade that you've been alive, dedicating 10 to 15-minute sessions to addressing mobility, tissue density, stiffness, flexibility, extensibility, things like that. So if you're 10 and younger, you probably should do that once a day. That probably come in the form of play. But if you're 20 years and younger, then at least 2 dedicated 10 to 15-minute sessions. If you're 30 and younger, 3. If you're 40, 4, and then so on, right? So that can be walking, low intensity cardio. That can be mobility circuits, things that just generally help, quote unquote, flush out some of the soreness maybe associated with training, but done so in a way that doesn't overtax the system. Let's move on to a new question. So those, let me just recap. Those are the three, right? Sleep, nutrition, and mobility slash active recovery. Those would be my three recommendations as you get a little bit older, what you can do to actually improve your recovery. This was emailed in. Again, you can email me at school@adamringler.com. That's a way that you can just, if you just want to direct message me through the school platform, you can do that. So jumping into the Former Athlete Society, all of which you can direct message and you can send in your questions that way. But this one was emailed to me. What's the best way to train around nagging injuries? This is one I get so often. I literally got a telephone call yesterday talking about this very thing. And for me, I always think it's always about modifying, never eliminating. So again, I said this before, a lot of this will be rehashed information, but Dan Paff, legendary track and field strength conditioning coach, always talks about making plan B as close to plan A as possible. So that means modifying things, but not eliminating things. That means if necessary, swap exercises. If barbell squats hurt your knees, try a goblet squat or a Bulgarian split squat, or a rear foot elevated split squat, or a front foot elevated split squat. There's ways that we can maybe train around some of the soreness or some of the painful inducing exercises without neglecting a region or sort of a unilateral aspect of that movement, i.e., sometimes just from an old wrestling injury back in my old days, like my college days, my left knee bugs me and I can't train my left side. So that doesn't mean I don't squat. That doesn't mean I don't hinge. I still do so. I just do so on my right leg. And then I do, isometric exercises on my left. So maybe not working the joint through range of motion, but actually keeping it in this, same sort of range, isolated without movement, but also applying force through that region through an isometric exercise. Second thing I would say is try to control your tempo. So slow things down, have controlled movements, reduce strain when you can, and really try to stay in control. Sometimes, especially as body parts, joints particularly, but muscles as well, when they're sort of nagging and they're kind of hurting a little bit, that's where ballistic or higher speed movements tend to really irritate those areas. So if you have a knee injury or you just got pain in your left knee from your college playing days, rather than doing a jump squat or some type of speed squat or sort of dynamic effort exercise, slow things down, work through tempo, slow it up, really accentuate the eccentric aspect of the exercise to add time under tension, but done so in a way that doesn't actually irritate the source of the pain. Lastly, but not limited, work around, but not through pain. So this is just being smart. This is being strategic. This is recognizing that in most cases, we're going to wake up tomorrow and our body might be different. So pain is oftentimes a signal, but it's not a suggestion. So opt for pain-free ranges, movements, focus on strengthening supportive muscles. But if the alarm is going off, we shouldn't ignore it. We should actually pay attention to it and see and use that sort of alarm signal, i.e. pain, as an indicator that there might be something going on. So don't completely ignore it. Pay attention to your body, work around things. Question from a community member here. How do I manage nutrition on busy weeks or when I'm traveling? Listen, I travel a lot. This is what I do during basketball season. So it really just comes down to planning, to be honest. Like, I often sometimes think like simple is better than complex when we're trying to do, when we're in sort of chaotic environments, right? It seems to be complex systems tend to break down under chaos. So if you can find ways for simplifying your nutrition when you're on the road or when you're busy, that tends to be a strategy for success and for winning. So things like planning ahead, packing protein. So I always like portable options. So things like protein powders I pack on the road. I bring a bunch of beef jerky, Greek yogurt stores well. You can travel with that pretty well. But protein powder and Greek yogurt, boom, you got something ready to drinks, right? You could pack one or two of those in your suitcase or check luggage. You could get that in. So now you're at the hotel and you actually have some ready to drink protein shakes as well. You can bring your own protein powder. So you just got to be kind of creative. Sometimes I bring a protein shaker. I get it through TSA or through security checkpoints, and then I pop in the protein powder. I fill it up in a water fountain. Boom, I got my protein shake there. So just planning ahead, being strategic, being smart with that really is helpful with at least managing the protein. Now, focusing on one ingredient foods. This is so critical. So a lot of the times we'll go through, we'll have catering for our basketball team. There'll be complex dishes where, again, it's hard to calculate macros on that. But, like I like one ingredient foods. A grilled chicken breast is a grilled chicken breast. Veggies are veggies. Fruit are fruit. It's easy to find anywhere, and it can really honestly quite frankly keep you on track. It's also super easy to track on a scale. So rather than, let's say, an egg casserole that might have bacon and sausage and eggs and cheese and a bunch of different things in there, that's a lot to kind of account for. I could maybe rudimentarily account for that in a macro app. I talk about utilizing macro factor as the way that I track my own macros, protein, carbs, and fats, and calories, certainly, and all my micronutrients, things like that. But I travel with the kitchen scale everywhere I go. So if I'm in traveling with our team and it's a team dinner, like I'm gonna have my scale out, I have my plate out, I'm picking up that chicken breast, I'm putting it on the scale. I recognize it's 7 ounces, I put it on my plate, boom, 7-ounce chicken breast, done. I can macro that, I can track it, and then much like Peter Drucker and his sort of business acumen and advice, what gets measured gets managed. And if I can measure my macros, I can manage my macros. And lastly, I think this is just important. Hydrate. A lot of the times when you're flying or driving or things like that, dehydration tends to kill your energy, kills your mood, certainly, negates your recovery. So just constantly drinking water. I like to have making sure that I'm getting some electrolytes in that water as well. That tends to keep me a little bit more hydrated. It also allows me to sort of power through my workouts when I get to the hotel. I'm not, chronically dehydrated from air travel or things like that. So that's my idea. Pack simple proteins, focus on one ingredient foods when you're on the road, and then hydrate. That would be my way of managing nutrition during busy training periods or busy work weeks, or if you're traveling for work or anything else. So last question, just to wrap it up. It's 9:15. Like I said, I always want to try to keep these videos 15, 20 minutes, something easily digestible, something you could do on your, morning commute. You could watch these, follow along here. But what are some simple strategies to stay motivated long-term? So there's a common adage, right? Discipline's more powerful than motivation. Motivation fluctuates. We know that. Some days you'll be more motivated. Other days, because of emotional things and work schedules and life, right, you might not be as motivated. So much like Atomic Habits, have suggested, the popular book. I did a whole lesson on Atomic Habits in our classroom section here. So if you're not a community member, if you're not a school member, you can join our school community, the Former Athlete Society. You can go over to school. It's over my left shoulder. It would be my right shoulder here. skool.com/former athlete. You can join us. And as you participate in it, you'll get access to that masterclass. And in that masterclass call, I talk about all of these Atomic Habits, the popular New York Times bestselling book, James Clear, the author of it, kind of break it down, apply it to athletics in the same way that I've taught my current athletes, and now I'm teaching you. But in it, he talks quite frankly about focusing on systems over willpower, focusing on systems and disciplines over motivation. So things like setting short-term wins, weekly goals, hitting 4 workouts, or prepping 3 lunches, things that's very tangible to know if you're on track. Doing so and stacking those small wins builds momentum. It builds accountability. You get positive momentum. You can take that positive momentum one week and channel it into more momentum in the next. Secondly, accountability really counts. So post in the community, join these live calls, get a workout buddy, tell a spouse, tell a friend, tell a brother, tell somebody that you're doing what you do. So there's a book that I love. It's The 4-Hour Chef. It's by Tim Ferriss. He talks about, I want to say in it about, it's DISC. But in one of those things, he also talks about in accomplishing really big goals, right? Create some stakes. And what he means by that is, get some accountability to have that accountability. Maybe you bet your brother or your sister $100, $200, something that stings a little bit, that you're going to make your weight loss goal or your weight gain goal, or, that you're going to do 3 workouts a week. I remember when I was writing the Decoding Excellence book, I asked my brother to check in with me, and I said, "Hey, once a month, I want you to send me an email. Don't worry about what it's about. You can shoot me a text, you can call me, you can do whatever it is, but ask me how the book is going." And if I did not work on editing this book, I was going to pay him $100 straight up every single time he asked me in a month. So pretty easy way to focus on your accountability where it hurts the most, which is sometimes for a lot of people the pocketbook or your ego. So making sure you're posting in the community, joining our live calls, getting a workout buddy, getting an accountability buddy. But if you can't find that locally or in your close circle, this is what the Former Athlete Society is all about. You can do it here. And then lastly, what I would recommend is just remember your why, whether it's playing with your children or feeling strong again, or going to your 20-year high school reunion or your college reunion, the Hall of Fame, whatever it might be. Write it down, put it on a sticky note, put it in your bathroom mirror, revisit it on tough days. Every morning when you're brushing your teeth and you're brushing your teeth, you're going to see that. Remember what your why is, and that will help anchor you through the tough days in what your goals are and your systems, so that when your motivation fluctuates, you get to see it every single day and every single night before you go to bed, when you wake up, while you're brushing your teeth twice a day or 3 times a day. You're staring in that mirror and you're saying, oh, that's my why. That's why I want to track my macros. That's why I want to work out 2 to 3 times a week. That's why I want to do this. Remembering your why will help power you through the tough times when motivation fluctuates. So hopefully there's some good talking points and some answers in this Thursday 9 a.m. Q&A. Like always, I want you to take some things away from it. More importantly, I want you to share what you want to do, whether it's these things, whether it's simple strategies to stay motivated, whether it's managing your nutrition, whether it's, training around injuries, or improving your recovery as you're getting older. Let me know in the comments. I'm going to post this to our discussion board, the locker room of our Former Athlete Society, or let me know in the YouTube comments here. I might possibly make this one public so that other people can actually see what these 9 a.m. calls are all about. These Q&A calls are all about. I may make it public in the YouTube, so shame on me. But I want you to let me know what you're working on, and also let me know what's challenging, and I'll jump into the comments as well and try to provide some real-time Q&A for you as well. But like always, if you cannot make these live, email me, school@adamringler.com. You can jump into our community. You can direct message me there, or you can always leave a discussion post in the locker room in our discussion board under the post heading question. Right? So I have a post tag, just click question, leave it there. I'm going to look at those every single week prior to our 9 a.m. calls. And then if you're one of the lucky ones, I'll take your question and I'll answer it in real time right here, 9 a.m. every Thursday. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. And let's continue to help each other out. Let's continue to make this community something special, because I really, really believe in building this bridge between the current athletes or your former athlete and the professional world, really bridging your playing days and your professional days. And I want to help you in that journey. So thank you. I appreciate you. Until next time.